Hey everybody, Mike Naso here from podweather.com and Internet Partnership Radio with an update on the tropics as hurricane season 2009 begins to kick into gear. Taking a look out there in the Atlantic today, obviously the one feature that you notice is off the coast of Africa. We have an invest, it's 99L, that's the tag for it, but it could soon be our second tropical depression and perhaps our first tropical storm, which would be Anna if it's named. Behind it off the screen there is another wave out there that could be an even bigger threat for land masses down the road that we'll talk about. Here's the system 99L off the coast of Africa, and you can see there is definite curvature as the sun begins to go down. Right in here there is sign that it could be getting a little bit better organized, and if that sign comes true, then we would have a tropical depression or storm over the next few days, moving generally westward here over the central Atlantic and eastern Atlantic. Now here's that wave behind it that the model guidance has really grabbed onto the last several days, and there is good consistency, not with the track, but with the fact that there will be something very potent out there, a very strong hurricane, a very long-tracked hurricane. Where exactly it goes is yet to be seen. A little closer in on our system here clearly shows that we do have the spiral banding here trying to take shape and outflow trying to be established. So this definitely is on its way to developing into the second depression of the year and continuing just south of the Cape Verde Islands there. Now here's the model guidance within. You can see they're generally in agreement on a general west to west-northwest track through time. Maybe a little bit further north, maybe a little bit further to the south, but generally west-west-northwest, heading in the general direction north of the Lesser Antilles, but it's too far out to say exactly where it would go. Now the Canadian model here continues to show that our system will develop and move west, followed by our second wave there, and the Canadian at the end of the run shows our first storm that we're tracking right now heading directly towards the islands, and the second system behind it heading directly behind it. So that would be pretty significant if that occurred, because then that'd be two threats to the Lesser Antilles. Right now, don't know if we're going to get quite that many threats with it, but we're going to have to wait and see. Now the GFS model has been showing a long track storm. You can see our storm develops right off the coast of Africa, and as you track it here, continues to move in the central Atlantic up, followed by our second system, and our second system becomes a massive Caribbean hurricane, ending within a week and a half, 2 weeks, slamming into the Gulf Coast. Now, for those on the Gulf Coast, you don't have to breathe too hard right now, because out of the 4 model runs today, it's been in South Texas, it has been in South Florida, it's been in the Gulf Coast, and it's been off North Carolina. So there is no consensus as to where the track may end up, other than the fact that whatever does develop, as you can see, would definitely get cranking and head on a very long track behind our first system we're tracking and become something very powerful. And that is the general fear at this time, that if something does develop, it could be quite a storm when it does. Now taking a look at the wind shear profiles, you can see wind shear has been slowly decreasing. It's been above average most of the year in the Atlantic, but it's decreasing ahead of where our invest is coming and where our system will come behind that. And so wind shear should not be a big problem the next few days. The environment's gotten more moist too, and as far as water temperatures, they're warm enough out there, but in terms of if our second wave develops, we've got a big problem if it does head through the Caribbean or into the Gulf of Mexico or towards Florida, because the waters there are boiling. Now, why the sudden increase in hurricane activity? Well, it is August, and you wouldn't believe it, folks. I mean, we've had some seasons where we had tons of storms and never had the first one until late August. On the other hand, recently we've had lots of storms before August, and last year we had 2 hurricanes, Bertha and Dolly, before we got to August. But another reason is the MJO, the Madden-Julian oscillation. As it flares up in our environment around the globe here in the green, you can see it definitely flares convection. That's why the Eastern Pacific's active, and it's about to move into the Atlantic, and that will only help with an upward pulse of activity as our systems begin to develop there, so we're going to keep an eye on that. The Western Atlantic's pretty quiet right now. A little wave moving through the islands that we were watching earlier this week. Hasn't done anything, but we'll keep an eye on it. And this system south of The Gulf of Tehuantepec here and the Mexican coastline looks to be starting to spin. There's a closer look at it, and this could become a tropical system over the next few days. And if it does so, we already have a depression on the verge of becoming a tropical storm, so it would likely get the name Hilda if it does develop. Now here's Tropical Storm Felicia back in the eastern Pacific, now in the central Pacific, heading towards Hawaii. It might head more towards the northern portion of the state and probably strike as a tropical depression sometime on Tuesday. Winds are still 50 miles per hour. There's the satellite imagery of the central and eastern Pacific, and there's Felicia right here. The center of it, you can see, has gotten sheared apart and all the convections to the north. So if it's moving on the northern edge, by then there may not even be much rainfall heading towards the area. Now there's a tropical depression right there, and this could become Tropical Storm Guillermo. And here's the latest on Tropical Depression 9E, 14.0, 120.3, 35 miles an hour, moving west at 8, 1,007 millibars, forecast to become a moderate tropical storm and continue to go right out to sea in the eastern Pacific and not be a situation we have to deal with. Morakot slammed into China. It dropped over 80 inches of rain within a 48-hour period, down to 40 miles an hour, moving northwest at 6. Should dissipate soon. And then we have Etau, and it's 40 miles an hour. It's going to skim along the coastline of Japan and then move on out and not be too big of a threat. You can see those two systems there, and something behind it. There's what's left of Morakot over China. There's Etau looking pretty healthy at this hour, and then there's another area behind it which would monitor for potential development the next several days. I'm Mike Naso from podweather.com and IPR365.com. I'll see you next time.